G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle, and in this episode of Getting Started in Horus Heresy, Demons of the Ruinstorm. Now, unlike the ordinary episodes I do, where I completely stay away from rules, critique, or politics, I'm just going to say straight off the bat, demons have some problems. Some people underplay them, some overplay them. Me, I'm pretty consistent with how I approach it, and that is, I think they're broken. I don't suggest the army, therefore, in any sort of even narrative campaign, because I think you can be in for a rough time as a Demons player. Also, to create viable lists, that is, lists that aren't just going to lose every game and it's going to be unenjoyable, you kind of are restricted to several unit options and items of war gear if you want to be effective. Now, that's not to say you have to take them, not by any means, but I think I can speak for everyone. I say no matter how friendly, bubbly we are as a person, maybe we don't all like to lose every game. I think it's fair to say. A lot of this also stems from the deployment. So, unlike when I go through, say, Legion traits, special rules for other armies, I can't really do that here because there's just so many, I'll end up having to redo the entire army list verbatim. But deployment boils down to coming out of one of 3 portals you get to place on the table, which are 5 inches in diameter. The problem is no part of these portals can be within 6 inches of a table edge, 12 inches of an objective, or 24 inches of an enemy unit. This actually dramatically alters the options available for placement, and things like Zone Mortalis, for example, outright just breaks the game because whole corridors can be blocked off, or maybe, depending on how tight the map is, you won't even get to deploy a portal. Rules as written. Needs some work, needs some FAQing. Yeah, they're impassable terrain, the demons come out of them, but because they're placed down after enemy units, it leads to all sorts of problems. A lot of people give it the excuse that, okay, they're only for sort of narrative-friendly games, they're not designed for balanced competition. Personally, I don't subscribe to that belief. I believe that all lists should be viable in any setting. You shouldn't have to rely on your opponent being gracious enough to allow you to deploy on the battlefield in the first place. We're not talking about some cheesy exploit like everyone remembers the guy who infiltrated his Kroot and blocked the outflanking One Scars player, I think it was, from coming onto the table years back in a Warhammer 40k comp. It's not like that at all, because that guy was deliberately trying to be a dick. This is the basics of how your army must deploy, and the fact that you're often restricted to one viable portal makes it difficult. Many people have attested to this in the comment sections of videos on Demons of the Ruinstorm, stating how they actually struggled to place portals, or they played games and it became very predictable because basically all the demons came out of one hole and they could just focus all their shooting into that. Coupled with the fact that as time goes on, the demons get weaker in the game. They start out with sort of +1 strength, +1 toughness, actually +2 strength and toughness, I think. And that diminishes over time until they get to a -2 strength and toughness in turn 7. That's rough. Turn 1, they're really strong. Turn 2 and 3, moderately strong. Turn 4, they're basically stock standard. And this is all stuff you've got to keep in mind when you collect this army list. Therefore, I do not suggest it to the faint-hearted. I know it's a 4-minute long disclaimer, basically, at the start of this video, and explaining the problems with it, but until those are rectified, it's rough going. I won't lie. Nobody wants to be the guy who comes out and loses every game, obviously, so it also restricts your choices here. Now, whilst Khorne, Tzeentch, Slaanesh, and Nurgle are not referenced, there are very similar rules to what you would expect of these gods given. However, they're not super viable rules. Tzeentch especially, stay away from the psychic powers, guys, because you're just not going to enjoy it. The ability to cast very poor powers from demonology is not worth it. The malefic demonology that's available to demons, whilst a buff or a boon to chaos armies who can summon cheap units to support their power armored, Terminator armored infantry. It's good for them. For Demons of the Ruinstorm, it's not so good because reasons. Your infantry are just essentially too weak, and you're either already got enough weak troops that you don't need more, or the enemy's just going to be too busy absolutely shattering your monstrous creatures. It's also worth noting as a big part of the rules, slight conundrum in the community is that the Demons of the Ruinstorm have a set list of base sizes for units. Frankly, I don't care how it's written at Forge World. The common sense here dictates that base things appropriately for the size of the model. 60mm and upwards should be pretty standard for monstrous creatures. If it's as big as a box dreadnought, the old Castaferum dreadnoughts at 40k, then I think that's perfectly acceptable to call a monstrous creature, obviously within reason. Something like a Juggernaut's really straddling the boundary, or Blood Crusher if you will. But I digress. Just don't be a dick about it, Don't put a 25mm base under Lord of Change or something. Well, it's not how it works, guys. So, as long as you're not adult about it, you're really going to have no problems. Now, when it comes to the HQs, you're spoiled for choices. Now, I've approached this video from a couple of different angles. The first is thematics, of course. You can make a very thematic army by choosing the appropriate units. Again, Tzeentch is definitely the one I would stay away from. Nurgle's up there for staying away from. It pretty much just comes down to Khorne and Slaaneshi style rules that you really want to chase. The Khorne brass collars, for example, are just an awesome upgrade for what they give you, and they're cheaper than the alternative everyone else gets. They give you the same armor save, plus they give you adamantium will, plus they're cheaper. It makes no sense. Yeah, the war gear for demons is weird. So the way I really want to just tackle this is what's going to be cheapest for the player. And whilst they're looking at Games Workshop, I'm not saying buy from them. I mean, eBay is your friend here. The amount of demons you can find going cheap on places like eBay, buy, swap, and sell, go out there, have a look for it. By all means, do what you want to do. But you're spoilt for choice when it comes to choosing your actual Ruinstorm Demon Lord. So this is the big bad who basically boss over your army. You've got all these plastic graded demons and special characters and such. Me personally, I'd just go with something like a Bloodthirster. I wouldn't bother with the Lord of Change, just a Bloodthirster. The Demons of the Ruinstorm styling is very much a cross between Khorne and Slaanesh, very intentionally so, on behalf of the people sculpting the range, based on the fact that it was Khorne and Slaanesh models that fought the Blood Angels at Cygnus Prime. So Bloodthirst is a good start. Also, by far the cheapest of the plastic options for greater demons from Games Workshop. I mean, 230 for a Keeper of Secrets, and it's a smaller model than the Bloodthirster, whatever. It'd be silly. So, with that in mind, you can also go for the special characters. There's Ka'Bandha, Demon General of Cygnus, Samus, Demon of the Ruinstorm, and Korvax's Utterblight. Now, these three are great because, although more expensive than the plastic demons, in the case of the Bloodthirster considerably so, in the case of Samus and Korvax, on price point. They're quite large models, they're very detailed, they're thematic, and by taking them, they give you the option of already having the special character available if you choose to play the special character down the line. So that sort of covers a couple of steps at once by choosing one of these three. Again, Ka'Bandha, quite expensive, but I don't really think anyone would overly complain if you use something like Scarbrand with the regular Khorne Bloodthirster's wings on him as Ka'Bandha. I mean, either way, it's a huge model, so yeah, that's my picks for the HQ or the Ruinstorm Demon Lord. Now, obviously, we also have a second and third tier HQ, the Ruinstorm Greater Demon. Now for this, I think something like the Khorne Demon Prince and Herald combo, or the Nurgle Demon Prince and Herald combo, are a good buy-in. These models are actually bigger than they look. The Heralds are on 40mm basis to give you some perspective, and the Demon Prince himself is on a 60mm base. The reason why I suggest these over, say, a plastic graded demon model is sheerly size. You want to show that they're the next step down in size, therefore people don't think they're the big bad lord of the army, but they clearly stand out from the rest of the crowd. Also, the styling, again, very much of the Demon the Ruinstorm styling if you go down the Khorne Demon Prince and Herald path. And of course, speaking this bundle also gives you that Khorne Herald, as I said, which you can use as a Ruinstorm Demon Chosen, which is another type of HQ. That's your third bottom tier basic bitch HQ. Now, moving forward, we have the Ruinstorm Demon Brutes. Now, there are models coming out from Forge World, which I think most people will go to. Of course, if you want to do it on the cheap, 40mm sized base on the units, a little bit smaller than monstrous creatures, that ogre, maybe a bit bigger sized, Chaos Spawn. They're cheap, they're plastic. Again, tons of them going cheap on eBay. Buy, swap, and sell pages all the time. So, perfectly viable option for your Ruinstorm Demon Brutes. And they are a little bit posable. Whilst they have the same body shape, you can change out arms, eyes, mouths, faces, spikes in the back, all that sort of thing to get a bit of variety out of them. They're not completely monoposed like the Forge World ones almost certainly will be. So moving forward to your sort of Ruinstorm Demon Infantry. Now you have Lesser Demons, Demon Beasts, which is your Cavalry option, and Demon Swarms. So, Demon Beasts, of course, is like your Flesh Hounds, maybe Fiends of Slaanesh. They're sort of getting a bit big, but definitely Flesh Hounds. So the reason I've put Wrath and Rapture up here is, well, you get 2 units of Lesser Demons. You also get a unit of Flesh Hounds, which you can definitely use as Ruinstorm Demon Beasts. Also, you get a model you can use as a Herald, in the case of the Demon playing the harp. So you also have some Demon Cavalry options there, which will allow you to fill out a few Cavalry unit options in your fast attack. So you got a bit to work with out of this box, which makes it pretty decent quality and quantity. And also the fact that, these models again are sort of Ruinstorm appropriate, being a Khorne and Slaanesh mix. It's good value. If you want to get more Demon Beasts, I do suggest staying away from the Flesh Hounds, because at $85 for 5, it's never going to be a cheap option. Especially when $41 will get you 10 Chaos Warhounds, which are plastic models as well, and look perfectly fine as Ruinstorm Demons. If you wanted to go down another route, well, there's 2 options here. The Blue Horrors, and Brimstone Horrors, of course, these will go far. For $55 Australian dollars, you'll get a lot of mileage out of them because, well, there's 20-25mm models there. And very easy to tell different units apart because one's really tiny boys and the other unit is not so tiny boys. Options. Personally though, the best demon infantry is the Goblin Warriors from the Hobbit range, because you can get a shitload of them for cheap, because nobody wants these models, even Games Workshop. And with the contrast paints, very easy to paint. As I proved when I did my contrast demo video, essentially, you can just base coat them and then hit them with a flesh wash, and you're like 90% done right away. Really rewards the hobbyist who doesn't give a shit. I know that's bad to say for a getting started video, but hey, these guys are going to die in swarms on the battlefield, and that's even if you take a lot. Frankly, I wouldn't. They're probably just a hindrance more than anything, because you're getting marine stats, best case, but without any of the armor. And you're sort of limited to deployment as to coming out of those portals. You don't have any of the same level of war gear. You can't really ignore saves. It's not ideal. For Demon Swarms, of course, Nurglings are probably your best, cheapest choice for Demon Swarms. Yeah, nothing much to say there. Moving on to your sort of demon cavalry, the Plague Toads of Nurgle are actually really good. Because they look a lot better than the other Nurgle beast option that we have, that weird, happy, tentacle-headed thing that looks like a sea barnacle. Stay away from that. These guys are 120 for 3, and there's pretty much no parts to them. Having used these before as Beasts of Nurgle in an old Nurgle army, I had 6 of them. They're great. They're like 2-piece models, maybe 3 parts at worst. Very little cleanup. Again, like the Goblin Warriors, low effort, get you some models in the field. Now, your Demon Shrikes. Also another option for your brutes, Crypt Flayers. Right here, you have Demon Princes, in my opinion. This is your flying monstrous creature, your Demon Shrike, your fast attack. Very good unit, and there's something you're going to want a lot of, because they've got wings. They're flying monstrous creatures, they have lots of wounds, good toughness, good strength, they've got attacks which ignore armor. What are the upgrades you're going to give them? Well, you want them to have shredding attacks. That means when they charge into close combat, they're going to get all the glorious rerolls in the world. That's the big one that you want to give them. These are going to be the backbone of your offensive killing power. Yes, your Demon Cavalry, to an extent, has some killing power, but again, you don't have a lot of stuff that will ignore marine armor, and marines can become surprisingly tedious to kill in close combat, which is pretty much your only way of killing them, and, well, very few marine armies are not going to have a gun line to plow through you with, so Demon Shrikes, monstrous creatures en masse, definitely the way you want to go. Another option, Plague Drones of Nurgle. Again, we don't want to use his cavalry. I'd say strip the riders off, so it's just the flies on their own, the actual drones. These would make good Nurgle Demon Shrikes. Just saying. So, moving on to our last couple of options, the Greater Ruinstorm Demon Beasts. For these, something like the Mauler Fiend. Yes, it has that technological edge to it, but it still has that dinosaur face. It'll be fine for units of demon beasts. Probably not the demon I would go for, though. Instead, I would probably go for the Demon of the Ruinstorm Behemoth, which is much, much tougher. And in the case of the Behemoth, the Games Workshop option is the Soul Grinder. The Forge World option, I reckon the Great Korgoroth. Again, really fits the look and feel of the Demons of the Ruinstorm a lot better than, say, the Soul Grinder or the Mauler Fiend. Just because of the mechanical nature of them. But again, I'm showing you these models because this is to give people an idea of the sort of size and scale these models need to be, based on their description and base sizes. Also, Skark the Bloodborne could be used as your Ruinstorm Archdemon, because again, he is big enough to do that. The Ruinstorm Archdemon, of course, is like the super Lord of War for demons. Now, when it comes to your actual portals, you can either go the cheap route, just the large blast template, as you can see, last chance to buy because they're squatting templates, or try the Skaven Gnaw holes. Just obviously remove the more Skavenous bits, the bits of wood sticking up out the top, and the braziers of warpstone. Maybe put a few candles around the outside as if it's some sort of ritual has been conducted. These will make very nice markers. They're the correct size as well, so very thematic. But this is the best, cheapest way to do it. So go something like a Khorne Bloodthirster, then buy yourself the Khorne Demon Prince and Herald, a box of Realm of Chaos, load up on your Goblin Warriors, buy a box of 3 Crypt Flayers for your 3 flying monstrous creatures, much better value than buying 3 Chaos Demon Princes, which are exactly the same size. Top it off with a couple of Soul Grinders or your Skark the Bloodborne. Consider also your Samus Demon of the Ruinstorm as a good HQ option, and your Skaven Gnaw holes. And that's pretty much your Demons of the Ruinstorm list. If you want to add some more scoring troops, definitely do look at the Chaos Warhounds, because they'll nicely supplement your Goblin Warrior Demons, which are just a lesser demon in this instance. You know, you could paint them more reddish tones for Khorne, perhaps. Yeah, your Chaos Warhounds will definitely give you, some more. Being beasts, they'll have that 12-inch movement range, that sort of thing. They'll be able to score. It's not ideal, guys. This is all cobbled together from different demons and such that are actually available. Right now, there's only 3 actual models that are meant for Demons of the Ruinstorm, and that's the Carbander model, which is now just called Bloodthirster, Greater Demon of Khorne, the Samus, Demon Prince of the Ruinstorm, and the Korvax Utterblight, Demon Prince of the Ruinstorm. They're the only 3 Ruinstorm models we actually have. Everything else is just made up from the existing range of miniatures, and so doesn't exactly fit every category. But I've done my best to give you some options here. Hopefully people will find it helpful. Again, I hate bringing where the Games Workshop did good or bad into it, but Demons of the Ruinstorm are not in a great place. That's why I've sat on this video. That's why I don't really want to push people in this direction or overly discuss the rules in this forum. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Please leave your suggestions for what you want to see next in this series or any series below, and I'll see you all next time.